Many people know that California is home to some of the world's most innovative and successful winemakers. It is also home to some of the most innovative and successful wine marketers in the world. I am here at Domaine Carneros with Phoebe Ulberg, Director of Marketing. Thank you very much for having us.
I am honored to host you here.
Beautiful place.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. The first thing I want to ask you is, Domaine Carneros, tell me about the brand. What is this company really about?
Well, as many people know, we make sparkling wine primarily. We're known for our sparkling wine. That accounts for about 75% of our production. The rest of it is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. We are sitting in a beautiful chateau in front of one of our 5 fireplaces. So many people know us also for our architecture because we're in a winery that's located right between Napa and Sonoma. It's perched atop a hill in the Carneros AVA.
When you drive by, you see it.
Right, you see it. So a number of people know this winery for its architecture as much as for its wine. And we have beautiful hosted tastings out on the terrace that surrounds the chateau. So we are primarily a sparkling wine house making Method Traditional sparkling wine, which is a very labor-intensive sparkling wine process.
Your career here is very interesting to me because you didn't study marketing. Can you tell me how you got into wine marketing?
Yes. Well, honestly, I think back to when I was in undergrad as a psychology major, and my dad just kept trying to calm me down and telling me that I will find my path. I don't need to be completely committed to coming out of school and knowing exactly what I want to do. And he was absolutely right, because I studied psychology in undergrad. And after undergrad, I owned a restaurant for a time. And there I fell in love with wine. And so over time, I have taken these different passions that I have and realized that they fit perfectly into a marketing career. So after I finished graduate school in hospitality, which was a stop after the restaurant, I packed up and headed out to Napa because I knew that wine was my passion. And I didn't know exactly where it fit when I first moved out here, but I took a job at a very small family winery, knowing that I would be exposed to a little bit of everything, and found that I really loved the side that spoke to people about wine, that helped people on their wine journey, that helped them find exactly the wine that they wanted. And over time, it evolved into this career in marketing that I have today. And it was really by dint of following my passions.
And here at Domaine Carneros, one of the interesting things we've talked about is the channels that you have for marketing your products. And can you tell me a little bit about those specific channels and kind of how you think about them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think what's important to think about when you think about wine is it is an agricultural product, first and foremost. So we are bound by Mother Nature in any given year how much product we actually have to sell. So in our case at Domaine Carneros, we're all a state-based fruit, and that's one distinction to keep in mind. We own all of the land that we are farming. We own about 450 acres. There are other ways to model your business. You can buy fruit and buy juice from other places and sort of craft a wine in that way. But for us, we are an agricultural product that is based on however much fruit we got in that given year. We then have to take that inventory 3 years later, because it takes that long to make a Method Traditional sparkling wine, and decide where it gets allocated. So the other thing about wine is that it's based on something called a 3-tier system, which is the producer is one tier, and then the distributor is another tier, and then the ultimate consumer is the last tier. We also, so there's that method of distribution where you're dealing with getting the wine in the hands of the consumers through this distribution model, but there's also direct to consumer, which is people coming to the tasting room and selling wine to them there, or selling it through e-commerce. So we have a lot of different channels that we're working with. We're working with the distributors who have to get the wine out to the restaurants and the retail. We're working with visitation and making sure we have enough wine for them to host experiences. We're also selling through e-commerce, and we also have a very robust wine club that gets regular shipments every other month. So we have to make sure that we have enough inventory for that. So that's a big part of my marketing considerations, is all of these different channels and how we're allocating product to the different channels to satisfy everybody and to make good margins.
Right. And you're working on some interesting challenges trying to solve, or campaigns relating to sparkling wine specifically. Would you care to talk about them a little bit?
Sure. I think, okay, so when do you drink sparkling wine?
Well, a birthday, New Year's, of course, Christmas.
You need to drink it on Monday. That's what I'm trying to get people to do.
I love that idea.
So I think that one of my challenges in marketing sparkling wine is that people really do think of it just as a celebratory bottle, and they save that bottle for the special occasion. I love that. I love that our wines are part of so many memorable occasions for people. But I think that what people don't recognize is that sparkling wine is also this wonderful, very versatile product that sometimes people don't think about when they're thinking about wine. They know that Pinot Noir is going to pair with that pork dish or that lamb dish, but they don't necessarily think about the fact that sparkling wine is equally food friendly, and why not open it to have with your potato chips like I do? I mean, honestly, it's incredibly versatile. So some of the programs that I'm designing are really revolve around helping people discover the versatility of sparkling wine.
So the bigger one of perhaps wine is sparkling wine is very versatile. It can go with anything. And your visitor center and tasting room, how do you market to the people who come into your tasting room, or use that data to enhance your other marketing programs?
I have a wealth of information at my fingertips because of our visitor center. It's amazing. I mean, I can walk through that visitor center and see demographics. I can see age ranges. I can see different economic statuses. Like, it's a wealth of information to have this very robust visitor center in front of me. And I definitely lean into that and understand who my consumer is and understand what their desires are, or guess at them, because all of us are really just guessing. But we are able also to introduce certain programs through the visitor center to help inform what I'm doing. So for instance, one of those programs that we've introduced is called Bubbles and Bites. And it's an international food pairing experience that we've gone from Morocco, we've gone to Spain, we've gone to Asia, we've done numerous different cuisines to help people understand. And it's a pairing experience. So you're experiencing sparkling wines with these 5 bites from different countries. And it helps to actually introduce people to the idea that this sparkling wine pairs with food. And so I can then pick up the conversation with those people in my additional marketing materials to continue that conversation about, oh, hey, wasn't that Bubbles and Bites amazing? Why don't we look at this recipe for this massaman curry with paneer cheese? And look, it pairs beautifully with our brut. So it's an ongoing conversation about the versatility of sparkling wine, and this visitor center is a boon for me in that regard.
Do you think the education and early experience you have has helped with this sort of breadth and creativity you have in marketing itself? And the reason I'm asking is that a lot of people are interested in this as a career who may not have studied marketing. Do you think that your background actually might have been a benefit?
Yes, I absolutely think that I was much more open-minded about all of the different influences that have come to shape me. I am very, very glad that I had a pretty liberal arts type experience getting to this point, because I wasn't looking at everything through the frame of marketing. I was looking at it through the frame of loving wine, being interested in human nature, and combining those two things. And I think that it's really benefited me in my career trajectory, particularly in wine. I feel my wine education has definitely played into my ability to speak to people about what they're interested in with regard to wine. So for sure, that I would not have gotten that if I were a trained marketer, if I had just taken marketing classes. I learned it by pursuing my passions.
Right. If somebody is trying to break into the industry, they're fascinated by it, or they are passionate as you are about wine, you think they should look to a smaller organization to work with or a larger organization? Or is it...
I don't think there's a wrong answer there, honestly. I think that they're just different experiences. I think that in a small organization, you will learn a lot about the actual winemaking process because you will be front and center. I spent one of my first harvests actually getting in a bin and crushing grapes with my feet.
Wow.
You understand wine when you do that. So I think that if you really want to understand the product and build from there, then working for a small family winery is invaluable. And you also see the pressures of business, being in business as a small family winery. I think that it really opens your eyes. A large winery, you will, for instance, if you were to work for a treasury, which is a combination, they own many, many different brands underneath their umbrella. And so I would imagine that the experience there would be invaluable because you will get a view into marketing to many, many different segments of people. So I think that there's value across the board. It just depends on what you're seeking.
Let's dive right into marketing. Who is your market? Who are your consumers? Who are you really selling to?
Well, I think the interesting thing here is that I am focused on a B2C model primarily in my day-to-day work. I am not a B2B model. We are selling wine directly to consumers. And so a lot of the research that I'm doing and observation that I'm doing is on my consumer in particular. I have a number of different ways to do that. I can do that through data. We do regular customer data pulls of all of the people on our mailing list and learn a little bit more anonymously, of course, about their trends and who they are. But I also have this built-in tasting room where I have living, breathing human beings that are not on a page that I am able to either interact with or talk to our servers about and learn a little bit more about those visitors, or just observe their patterns and see what they're wearing and see what they're drinking. So it's a very interesting model. I think I'm very fortunate that I have this B2C model that I'm able to see, and it's very unique to the wine industry, particularly in the Napa wine industry that is made up of primarily lots of small wineries. And so, yes, in some cases they are combined into one larger organization that is overseeing all of those small wineries. But it is very unique, I think, as a winery marketer in that I have such visibility into my customer because they are walking in and drinking my wine every single day.
That sounds like a real luxury.
Yes,
Speaking of
it
luxury
is.
items.
It is, for sure.
This video will be watched by professional marketers and marketers who are also just beginning their careers. I bet they're pretty curious about what your typical day is like.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's not particularly revolutionary for marketers. I mean, I do all the things that marketers do. They check in the morning, check their Google Analytics, check sales, all of that stuff. But I think what's interesting about what I do is that I have a front row seat, thanks to our visitation center, to who my customer is. And so oftentimes what I'll do is the servers have a morning meeting every morning at 9:45 before we start our day. And I'll go down and I'll listen to what they're talking about in their morning meeting. And I'll pull some of them aside afterwards and ask some questions. I've got this sort of ready-made focus group of what's happening with my customers. And then I'll hang out for a little bit and I'll watch the guests come in at 10 a.m. for their wine tasting and see what they're wearing and what their ages are. And it's this incredible little lab that I have as a marketer. And I think that's really unique. And I think unique in the wine industry as well, because we have this wonderful visitation here at Domaine Carneros.
Let's talk about, so in Silicon Valley, they have version 2.0 and a new version of your software comes out. Would you have something like that also?
Oh my gosh, it is so hard to keep track of sometimes, but we have a portfolio of wines, approximately 8 sparkling wines, for instance. they also all have vintages. So not only do you have those 8 sparkling wines, but they're changing vintages as inventory runs out or as we release a new vintage of a wine. So at any given time, we're working with many, many different sort of SKUs that we're having to keep track of. And it keeps us busy, keeps us interested.
So is each one of those sort of a marketing event in and of itself?
Yes, it can be. Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, we can talk. It's also another thing that we can speak about as marketers, because real wine geeks know how the 2017 vintage was versus the 2019 versus the 2020. And so it gives us another thing to speak about when the new vintage of a particular wine gets released.
The wine industry is notorious, whether it's actually true or not, for not having massive marketing budgets. How do you get the most bang for your buck in your marketing?
That is absolutely true. Most of these small wineries are lucky to have a marketing department or even one person on their marketing staff. And that person is stretched pretty thin, both physically and budgetarily. So you really have to get creative about the way that you use every single one of those dollars. And one of the ways that you do that is you encourage people to talk about your product. So referral marketing is very important for us. And we definitely see in the data that wine club members who were referred by a fellow wine club member retain longer. So I really rely on the enthusiasm of my existing customers to spread the word and gain me new customers. So you just have to get very creative about the way that you're spending every one of those dollars, because it's true, we don't have a lot of them.
Right. And for your bottom line sales, what are the areas that really give you the most bang for the buck? Which channels really work best for Domaine?
Yes, that's a good question. We're very fortunate to have a robust wine club, and wine clubs are not brand new in the wine industry. They've been around for probably about 20 years or so. We have one of the first wine clubs that was ever in existence. Our wine club has been around for 25 years, and we have members that have been in it for that entire time who are still some of our most loyal members. So I think that is a very, very valuable source for us. And wineries can rely upon regular revenue from their wine club members. So it's a very important and lasting source year upon year.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to the wine club, you have the tasting room?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, not only do we have the wine club, but we're fortunate to have a popular tasting room. So we have revenue through there, but then I also have to take those customers who are new to the brand and convert them into regular customers. So yes, while they're here at the visitor center, in some cases they'll join the wine club for the great array of benefits, but perhaps they won't, and I need to continue the conversation. So I'll use traditional marketing channels to do that through, email marketing and digital advertising and social media, and trying to convert them into repeat customers through all of these different channels that I have.
Right. It sounds like your marketing may be a little more sophisticated than you're letting on.
Maybe, but it feels pretty homegrown, and I feel pretty close to my product, which is very fulfilling.
So Phoebe, you're a member of the American Marketing Association in San Francisco. Why are you a member?
I love all the resources that you have, particularly the pre-recorded webinars, because I live a little bit further away from the city, so I'm not as available to take advantage of your networking and your events, but you have such great resources online through your pre-recorded conversations and webinars that I regularly just sort of work it into my continuing education, where I'll watch one, and it really just gets my creative juices flowing and inspires me. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a topic that seems particularly relevant to what I'm doing on a day-to-day, but it's so valuable to sort of reach outside of what I'm doing and to hear from other smart people about what they're doing in the marketing world. So thank you very much for what you do.
Well, thank you for being a member. What do you think is your favorite thing to do as a marketer for Domaine Carneros?
It's all fun. I know that sounds really cheesy, but I'm marketing sparkling wine. I'm basically delivering joy to people. And that is very fulfilling.
Well, I would raise a glass of bubbly to that.
I know, where's our glass of
Yes,
bubbly?
yes. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
and
Eric.
I'm sure everybody will very much enjoy this.
Well, I appreciate you being here at Domaine Carneros, and I encourage anybody to reach out to me directly who has any kind of questions whatsoever. I'd be happy to mentor in any way possible.
Thank you very much for watching today. You'll see more videos like this on amasf.org. Thank you again. I'm Eric Weidner, President of the American Marketing Association of San Francisco.